Hi everyone, welcome to Google Certified Educator Level 1 training. We are going to focus on Google Sites in this video. If you have used Sites before, there have been a few updates that may be new since last time you used Sites. This video will repeat a lot of the information that was shared in our summer sessions in 2020, so this might be a good refresher for some of you, and for those of you that are brand new to Google Sites, this should take you from very basics to getting a site up and running in just a little bit of time. So let's go ahead and get started. So before we get into the how-tos in Google Sites, let's talk a little bit about why it's important that you understand Google Sites. There are several reasons. First of all, it is the website builder that comes with our Google Apps that we use in the county, so it's always good to understand what's available to you and how you may use it. The second reason is because we use Google Classroom with our students, which does have a parent portion to it, where parents can get summaries. However, those summaries are very limited to basically just naming what a student should be working on and what's not, has not been turned in. With a website, you can post calendars, you can post videos, you can post forms and documents and materials that support what is happening in your classroom. So if a student comes home and says, I can't find this or this or this in classroom, it could be on your website. And so it's just another way to put some power into parents' hands. Another reason is because in the coming years, as we get more involved with the student 5Cs portfolios, the students will be making those portfolios in Google Sites. Starting in upper elementary. And so teachers and educators will be called on to help students with their sites if they need it, and so it's good to have a basic understanding of how sites function so that you can support your students that way. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. There are several ways you can get to Google Sites. If you have the waffle, you can find sites that way. So you can come over to the waffle and find sites. Mine is right there. It is purple. Don't forget that your icons here may be in a different order than my icons because they can be moved around. I just tend to type in sites.google.com to get there. All right, so up here at the top are some templates you can use. This is actually where our students find the template we provided them, or we will provide them for their student portfolios, and then they'll be making a copy of that. So they actually are having a jump start on their portfolio when it's time. Down here are all of the websites that either I own or I am a participant on. I am a collaborator. So those would be down below. You may have nothing down here if you've never worked on a site. And then down here is the button that says Back to Classic Sites. So there's been new sites and classic sites for a long time. Classic sites, actually, after years of a threat that it's going to be ending, is finally ending in 2022, near the end of the year. So we're not even going to talk about that at all. So we're going to start from scratch just so you know how to build one from scratch. So we're going to go ahead and click blank and let it go ahead and open. So in my unofficial terminology, I always say, well, there are 3 places that you get to now title your site. And so let's talk about those 3 things first. So up here where it says untitled site, this is basically your file name. You are the only one who's going to see this. You can name it whatever you would like to name it. I'm going to just call it Kate's Practice Site because that is really for my eyes only. Now, it automatically filled in here, but that may not be what I want my visitors to my site to see. So, Israelis class. All right, so this is the name of my entire site. So this would be like if you go to a store, the store's name would probably go up here because this is going to show up on every page of your website. So you have 10 pages, this is always going to be up in the corner. So you don't want it specific to the content on any one particular page. And then here is the title for this specific web page on my site. So I'm just going to say welcome. This can come down multiple lines. You can see there's a lot of formatting here. In fact, I had a video done in 2020 on how to use Google Sites, but because there's been so many more changes up here, I felt like I had to redo it because there used to not be choices with the font choices, basically. You were very limited to like 5 fonts. But now you have a lot of font choices, a lot of very particular font sizes you can pick, where that used to not be the case as well, and a few other changes, which have allowed for more formatting options with Google Sites. So over here on the right, now I'm not going to go over what everything is over here because we do save stuff for Google Level 2, and we're just working on a basic site for today. We're going to go over a few things. So first and foremost, probably no site exists that doesn't have any text. So we're going to go over here with Insert Text Box and go ahead and click that. And this is where I might say, welcome to my class. So happy you stopped by. And so here you can see, this is a font type. Sorry, clicked right wrong here. This is font, any font I want. Did not need to do that. I just clicked find more fonts. This is plenty for me. I'm going to just pick this one. Font size, bold, italics, underline. Text color is kind of a new thing too with Google Sites, or newer at this point. So I can do what I want with my text appearance here. This is to link my text. This is centering, so it can center in this text box, and then the bullets and the numbering. And there's even more hidden under here. This is line spacing, which I tend to use a lot as well. If I want to fit more content into a box, I will make the spacing, custom spacing, and do usually 0.9 because it lets me squeeze a little bit more into a limited space. And then some indenting and a few other things that are probably less used, but still good when you need them. I'm going to go ahead and center this. I can then add other things. If I go ahead and I want to add a second text box, it will automatically put it under, but you can make it smaller and then just drag it up, and it will kind of move things so they're next to each other. It's not as user-friendly in spacing as something like Google Slides, where you can put things exactly where you want. This one definitely is limited. These lines that you're seeing now as I'm manipulating the text box has to kind of snap to those. And actually anything you put in a picture, an item from your Google Drive, all have to kind of snap to those lines. So you don't really get you can't get as exact as you might want to at times. I'm just going to say hi there because I don't know what else to put. The other thing to know here is right now, this menu over here is taking up some real estate. So just because, let's see, let me go back here. This broke it so to go down to the next line. It may not when I see it full width of my computer. I'll show you that in a minute as well. All right, so we can put in images. So that's over here. I can upload them from my computer. Basically, I can upload and you can go find them. I'll put in that one. And then the other option was to select, and I'll show you the choices here. So I can go in my Google Drive and find any pictures that I want to put in. I can link to an image if I find one on the internet. That's not really as common, but it is possible. If you find an image you like, you can get its URL. I can search for images. I can do an image search. And then this would be if I had a Google Photos account, which I actually have a personal one, so you can see all my vacation from several years ago. All right, so I'm going to just go ahead and put in a picture. All right, notice these again fed in below, but I can drag and put them next to if I wanted. Right now, this is going to link, kind of link it up with this text box. So if the text box gets smaller, the picture gets smaller, it kind of makes them almost into one thing. You can always click and separate. That's like the whole thing. You can see the blue around it, but now this is just the picture because the blue only goes around the picture. So if you click, you can get back to just one piece of what is connected. This would be crop, uncrop, link, remove. I can replace an image if I like that spot and I just want another image to fit perfectly in this spot. I can do that. Alt text is good if you have someone who's using a screen reader, usually for more visually impaired visitors to your website. It will tell them what the picture is about, and that way they know. because it will be read out loud by whatever you put here. Okay. You won't see that, but it's there. A third thing to know about Google Sites for Google Level 1 is how to make a link. So I'm going to go ahead and insert a text box, and I'm going to insert the words I want to be a link. And I showed you this a little bit with the picture, but you're just always looking for this button that looks like a link and a chain link. So we're going to insert that, and then I would put the URL here. Okay. And then that becomes a link, and you can format that the same as you would format any text. And then finally, if you have a video in your Google Drive, you can come over here to your Google Drive, and there are options to help you find it. I usually tend to pull my things up and then have them in recent ahead of time, but you can do it by file type, and you can find your videos, anything you have saved in there, and we can go ahead and I'll insert this one. All right, a good thing to keep in mind is anything from your Google Drive that you pull in, you want to make sure that in your Google Drive you have shared it so anyone with the link can view. Google Sites does not override your settings in Google Drive, so you want to make sure that you go into Google Drive either before or after and you change the settings so anyone with the link can view. All right. Now we have this lovely website. We're going to show you a few more formatting options. So in any of these sections, and you can kind of see this very faint gray line here, indicating it's a different section. Again, you can drag things up and down to manipulate that if you'd like. There are some choices over here. So each section could be a different color if I wanted things to stand out. If I don't like the color here, so it gives 2 based off the theme of my page, which I'll explain what that means in a minute. There's also images that they have chosen that you could use as the background of any one section. We'll click that one. I'll show you what it looks like. This is adjusting it so that it is best formatted for your reader to be able to actually see what it is. But another option, just a little trick, if you don't like either of these colors, and you're like, I really want a red background, if you click Select Image and you search the web for red background, you can usually find one, and then just make that your background. Sometimes you may prefer to do that outside of Google Sites, because if you want to use that same red again, sometimes if you try to search a week later, it won't be the first thing that pops up. So if you have it downloaded to your computer, you could upload that as your image and background, and then you know you're using the same red rectangle that you found every time. All right, you can also do these same things kind of up here. I can change the image here. Again, it's going to give me some choices, but I have the other choices up here to find what I'm looking for. And again, it's adjusting the readability because it's deciding that with my color text here, this is the best look for the background. However, you can take that off. If you're like, no, I want it dark, you can make it dark. All right, over here, the other 2 choices, this was to duplicate this section. So if I wanted the exact same thing again, I can do that, and then I can delete the whole section and wipe everything out at one time. All right, we talked a little bit about themes, so let's go over there to themes, and I will show you. These are relatively new, where you can import a theme or you can create your own theme. Creating your own theme, what that will do is once you pick out the basics of what you want, you can pick some colors that you want, and then every page, and your fonts, and every page that you add to your site will start off with that same basic look. Otherwise, they offer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 over here. I'm using simple right now. Remember how this background choice gave me this teal color, and see that's what's selected, but I could change that. It's like, oh no, I like purple. So now you'll see over here that my default is color is purple. It kind of always does gray, but the other one's purple. So I could do that. But I could also switch at any point to a different theme over here. And I think it's easiest to do it at the beginning So that way, as you create more pages and your site gets more larger, gets larger, you can, all your pages are inheriting that same theme. All right, and then there are for some font styles down here too, very minimal choices, which in some ways is nice because you don't agonize over every last decision with that. All right, last thing, let's talk about adding, well, not the last thing. The next thing is adding pages. So right now I have a home page. You can see I have no other links up here, but you add pages this way. And I'm just going to hover for a second on that plus sign. So I can do a new page. That will give me a brand new, fresh, clean page, just like we started with this home page. A new link would be adding a link to an outside page. So while I put that link, for example, to the middle school in the middle of my page, it may be something I want to put in the list of links that appear at the top. I don't use full page embed, so that's not really necessary for Google Level 1. A new menu section would be if I wanted pages embedded under other pages. And I will show you that once we have a new page. So let's go ahead and click a new page. I'm going to call this one Schedule. And I would go ahead and repeat everything we did already. So I could add my text. I can go back to that Insert tab and put whatever I needed on here to make this my schedule page. See how home is up here? I can also toggle back. I can also toggle back over here. But this is how my visitors to my website will toggle. All right, I'm going to make another page, and we're going to call this one Notes. Okay, and then I'll do one more. Pause. We'll do one more. Do new link, and I'll call this one LCPS. And I do like it to open a new tab because if I'm taking people outside of my website, I want them to still keep my website open, of course. So we're going to add that there. So I'll show you what the new menu section did. So notice how these are all equal level. I'm going to take, this makes no sense, but I'll do it anyway. Well, this kind of does. Under Home, I'm going to move Notes and see how it's now indented here because it's actually falling under Home here. But the other option, and this is new, that menu section might be like for parents. I really like this feature if you're going to have a big website. I might put that schedule in there. I'm going to take notes and put it in there as well. So what that does is it gave me this title, but this isn't a page. So no matter how often I click on it, it's not taking me anywhere. So it doesn't have to be a parent page. I shouldn't have used the word parents because that's also what I call it. This parent text up here does not have to be a page itself. It can be just words and then other pages fall under it. So that is how you make new pages. There are options for every page. You can duplicate a page. So if you maybe have this is what we're doing in November page, and then you're like, I want to keep that format, but I need to change it for December. You can duplicate the November page and change what you need to make it a December page. And then you'll have a history of what you've done as well. You don't have to take anything else down. Add subpages, basically we just did by dragging. You can hide it from navigation. So let's say you don't want people in December to still have access to that November page. You can take it away so it no longer shows up here. And you can also delete your pages. All right. And I will tell you one more thing about pages when we get to the next step about publishing that's really good to know. All right, so the final step is you think your website's done and you are ready to publish it. So let me show you a few things there. First of all, what I did not mention and is very important to know is this is undo and redo. Perfect things to use if you make a mistake. This here allows you to preview your site. So I'm going to go back to that home page. We're going to see if this still breaks it so like we talked about way earlier. So this allows you to preview your site. Notice that did change, so it might be important for you to know how your site's really going to look. However, this is a large screen. This is how it would look on a tablet. This is how it's going to look on a phone. So you have to think about what format the majority of your audience will be looking at. If it's for your students, most likely on their Chromebook. So that would be the large screen. If it's for people outside the community, the phone might be important as well. All right, I'm going to exit that preview. This person with the plus sign. Okay, so this is a little more complex than a typical sharing screen would be in, say, a Google Doc or a Google Slide. I own it. Right now, my draft is restricted, which means nobody can see this rough copy here. But I can make other people be able to see the rough draft, this part, if I wanted to. I never use that. This is who can see my published site. So I haven't published my site yet, so right now no one can see it. But if I were to just publish it right now, this would mean that anyone on the adult side of our school division can see it. And that's because this doesn't acknowledge our K-12 Louisa domain where the kids are. When it says Louisa County Public Schools here, it only is acknowledging the Louisa County Public Schools that I'm in, which is the lcps.k12.va.us domain. But I can change that, and I can make it where the entire world can see it, or I can restrict it to certain people if I only want certain people, perhaps internally, to see a website. All right, now, so that will get it out to the public. Here is where I can add the collaborators. So we're going to just add Amanda Hurd. This will send her an email that I've invited her to work on the site. I don't have to do that if I don't want to, but I can. And then here I can say she can be a published viewer, so she can see the published site, or I can make her the editor, which is why I use this section anyway. And I can send her a message, and it's going to shoot her an email. I'm not going to invite her to this one because I don't think this one's really going anywhere, except in this video. All right. There's a few other options under settings, but those would be more for level 2. The 3 dots, there's your version history if you want to see something that has been done in the past, and make a copy. If you make a site and you want to make an entire copy of it for some reason, you can do that there. Let's go ahead and publish the site. My web address is here. It's going to be the ending of this long web address. So basically you're picking the ending, not the beginning. Who can view my site? Remember, I made it public, so here's anyone. I can click here and change that if I've changed my mind. And I'm going to go ahead and hit publish. All right, so here I can view my published site. This does go away pretty fast, though. But now that I've published it, I can come up to this arrow, and I can view the published site right there. I can also unpublish it. If I've made changes, so this is important to know. This is what I said I'm going to go back to when we talked about pages before. So I can be working on my website, and unlike other Google things, it does not become live as I work on it, which is a really key important thing to know. So until I hit review changes and publish, nobody is seeing any changes I make right now. So if I come in here and I say, this is the best day ever. No one's seeing me do this. No one's seeing me. No one is going to see me over here if I'm working on my calendar for next month. Nobody's going to see it until I come up here and I can either hit review changes and publish, or I can just hit publish again. As soon as I do that, anything I've worked on since the last time I hit publish shows up, and you'll be able to see everything you've made, all the changes over here. So it's telling me what the changes are. I usually know, so I don't tend to spend a whole lot of time looking at this, but it does remind you if you want to see. And then I can click publish. And now people are seeing any changes I made since last time. So it is not an automatic update like you're used to with other things you share, where people see immediately all the changes. All right, I think that is it.